Hello everyone, welcome to our second video in this lesson. This is the card that we're going to be making. It's a simple card, but we're going to be using it to learn a little bit about using Photoshop and clipping masks in order to put digital supplies into our card templates. If you remember, during the last video we ended with having our template open, and we'd saved it to a new name so that we didn't overwrite our existing template just in case we made any major modifications. And the next step in making our card is to actually add some digital supplies to this template. So to find those, we're going to go up to File, Open, and you'll have to use this navigation bar to navigate to wherever you saved your class supplies. And I'm using kit number 1 for this example. When you make your own cards, of course, you can use any of the supplies that you would like. And I know that I want to use this brown paper as my pattern paper. And I also want to use this blue paper for the base. Now I can go ahead and open these one at a time, but I also can select multiple things by using the Control key. So I click the one I want, I hold the Control key down and click the blue paper, so now both of these are selected. And then I also know that I want to use this many thanks sentiment, so I'm going to do the same thing, Control click, and open all of them. And as they open, they'll appear in this main window, but you'll notice they also appear down here in your bin. And your bin kind of stores for you all of the supplies that you have open at the moment. And if you end up with a whole bunch of supplies down here and it actually fills this one row, you'll get a little slider bar so that you can slide down farther to find the rest of the supplies. So to get to any of one of the supplies, you just double click and that one will pop up. So this is the template that we originally started with, and we want to add the blue solid paper to this piece. This is our background piece, this is our pattern paper piece, and this is our sentiment block, if you remember the sample we saw at the beginning of the video. So what you're going to do is make sure you have your arrow selected here and click down on this block, and you'll see it gets some little handles around it, and it also is highlighted here. So that's how you know that that one is selected. So since we want to add our digital supplies to this block, we want to make sure that it's the one that's highlighted. So now we're going to go get this blue paper, and we're going to do that by coming down here to the bin and just double clicking. So this pops up into the window. Now I want to add it to my template, so I'm going to click and hold your button down and slide it down here, and you'll see a little plus sign appears on the cursor. So when I let it go, the paper is right here in this layer, and it's right above the layer we had selected, which was the big green block, which is the background of our card. So now what I need to do is get this paper to fit into this shape, because we don't want the whole thing to be blue, we just want this square to be blue, a rectangle to be blue. So what I'm going to do is hold down my Alt key and hover over this line in between these two layers. And then once I have this little snowman or double circle or whatever that cursor is, just click, and this paper will then be conformed to this shape, and it will indent, and you'll have this little down arrow here telling you this paper is clipped into that shape. So this paper is still here, it's still as big as it was, it's only visually being conformed to this shape. So now I want to do the same thing for the brown pattern paper, so I'm going to select that. I have this arrow, I select it, and you'll see that it pops up over here. It's selected on the pink. So now I'm going to go down here to my bin, double click, and it pulls up that paper. Click and hold, drag it down till I get the plus, and let it go. So now that paper is slipped in here right above the pink where I was. So now I'm going to do Alt and hover till I get my circles and clip. Now one thing that you can do is once you have this paper clipped in here, you can move it around. So I want to kind of nudge it around a little so that I can get a nice visual of this flower, as opposed to having it, maybe something like this where all the flowers are off the edge. I want one to mostly show. So I'm going to move this paper around so it's like that. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is add this blue paper to our little sentiment block. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to select this and make sure it's selected here. I'm going to double click on the blue paper. I'm going to bring it down, click and hold till I get the plus sign over here, let it go, and it's in here. Then I do Alt clip and it conforms to this shape. So now I have my base, I have my pattern paper, I have this block, but I need to add my sentiment to it. So I'm going to double click to bring that sentiment up, and then I'm going to click and hold till I get the plus sign. Now I can move this to wherever I want it to be, and I can visually center this. Now you remember in the beginning we set up our zoom scroll so that if we scroll our scroll wheel we can zoom in. So I can visually kind of center it if I want, but if I want it to be perfect I can also use the alignment tools. So I can select this, and if I Control and select that, I'm selecting these two items. Only these two items are selected. So now I can go up here to the alignment tools and I can say I want to center it vertically and I want to center it horizontally. And now this many thanks sentiment is exactly in the center of this block. I want to show you something that will happen if you forget and you select all these layers. So let's say you accidentally do this and you select this shift key and so this pattern paper is selected also. What will happen is it will try to center on all of these, and so when I do the alignment it's going to get all messed up and move this all over the place because it's trying to center on this pattern paper too. So what you want is really just the two shapes and not the pattern paper. This is a great chance for me to show you another thing. So I didn't want to do what I just did, and I'm like, oh man, now this thing's on top of here, I'm going to have to move it, and I don't really want to have to do that. If I go up here to undo history, if you look in here, there's all kinds of stuff. Move, open, delete layer, because I was messing around with this video before I ever even started with you guys. But these last two things here are the last two things that I did. And I don't want them, because I don't want this sitting over here. I want it back where it was. So I can go up here and click, and it will go back in history to that thing that I did that I wanted. So it gives you the chance to sort of have a big fat eraser and a giant multi-step undo so that you can save yourself if you mess up a little bit. So that's undo history, and we'll probably be using, knowing me, we will be using that again. So you can open and collapse that at any point in time. So if you want to undo, if you only want to undo one step, you can use Control-Z. That's one of the shortcuts that was in the introductory video. But that will only take you back one step. Undo history will let you go back multiple steps if you need to do that. So there's a little aside on undo history. So now I have my card base ready. And the next thing we're going to talk about in the next video is options for saving this, and also things to think about when you go to print it.